How do you recruit candidates for your team?
I've done 2 recruitment cycles, and the first recruitment cycle was quite different to the second one, but there were similarities. Like initially, like going out into the uni, we will try in the first few weeks of term to get our posters and our posts out and encourage people to go to the open days, encourage people to join the team as much as possible, or apply to join the team as much as possible. And then within the first few weeks of the term, we will do interviews, and we will decide on team leads as well. So I think it's usually up to the committee to sort of do an interview process for the team leads, but it's very open because in reality they're passing over to the next team who then can decide how they want to set out the team, who they want to set out as their team leads and committee, like immediately. Once that's sort of defined, that group of people will go into the interview process, and basically they can choose out of all the interviewees who they want on their team, who they think will be a really good part of the team, who really cares about the project. We tried to keep the teams as small as possible, which is a bit brutal when it comes to recruitment. We had like 170 applicants and we accepted like 50 or 60.
And that is, yeah, I say that is the most gutting thing, that you do have to turn people down, because in an ideal world, we take on everyone, but there is a lot of applicants at the beginning of the year. I don't know if this is just a thing for any Rocket team, but obviously rockets are cool. People are going to want to do it. So that kind of forces us into having a application process where you kind of have to submit, I don't know, answers to a couple of questions and then interviews, because of all those people who apply, you want to get the ones who really want to be there, not just with the CV, who are like passionate about rockets, who just, want to get hands-on involved with stuff. So it is hard, and you do feel bad having to say no to people, but it's just the kind of situation we're in with the number of people who do want to join.
And I think it's a double-edged sword as well, because whereas if you want to be quote unquote nicer and accept more people, it is still student run and student led, and running a team of 170 people is very different to running a team of 50 people. And I think that when you have smaller teams of people who you make sure are really dedicated, and by having an interview process, you sort of make it seem like they have to commit. There's like a unsaid thing where it's like, well, you've got through the interview process, you're one of top 50. You need to commit to the team. And actually having a much smaller team of people full of those really committed members is how loads of stuff gets done and progress is really quick. So even though initially it comes across as, I know it's really difficult because you know some of the people who are interviewing, but the competition is fierce. Lots of very smart people coming to the uni to do aerospace or engineering, or even more than that, to be fair. We have people in other departments as well on the team. But I think the thing I always look for the most is, do they care? Will they turn up to every meeting, and is it something they're really passionate about? And even if they don't have as much technical know-how or experience, if they really demonstrate like a want to commit to the team and put in loads of effort, that is the best thing, because no one really knows what we're doing at this point. It is student run, student led. We are learning. So people who are going to just be an integral part of the team and put in loads of effort are always going to be. That's what I think. That's always what I'm looking for.
I think on that point, you could have like the most brainy person ever show up with like crazy experience doing X, Y, Z. Be like, okay, this would be amazing. But if you get to them and they just don't seem like they have that kind of like drive, and if it's like, oh yeah, well, I want to join the team because it'll look good on my CV.
Yeah.
Like, that we take someone who has much less experience than that, who's just like, I really love rockets, it's not I play KSP.
Like, yeah, that's one of the main reasons why.
Yeah, but it's mostly enthusiasm and just kind of, I mean, knowing a bit, obviously, like, you got to have a bit of background and like say, oh, I'm really interested in space and da. But it's just the kind of, are they going to show up to meetings? Are they going to go to the workshops when we are actually doing manufacturing, stuff like that? And it's not. I mean, it's even if I would still do as much work in this team, even if I got no credit on CVs or stuff, because I just enjoy it, And so it's a lot more than just experience to push your career forward. It's a hobby. It's something you enjoy doing. It's like, oh yes, I want to do this because it's cool, and that's kind of what we look for in other people who are joining. I'd say at least that's what I look for.
When your engineering product sort of becomes your baby, you become like,
Yes.
you really care about the outcome. It stresses you out and you become emotionally attached. That is like, that kind of love for the project or what you're doing. It's those kind of people that really have that, who together make such a brilliant team, to be fair.
I have very strong maternal instincts for that engine that we tested. I was like, it's like sending my baby off to school for the first time. It's like, it's going to do what it's going to do and I have no more input, you know. It's like, it was scary. It was scary.
What can members learn from joining your team?
Of course, you learn stuff from your course, but it's the actual just doing it, like saying, okay, here is my goal, and just getting there, going through all the motions, especially like the teamwork, working with others, like just practical skills more than anything, and just being in that kind of team environment where everyone is working towards this common goal. It's not just, it's very different from a course where you're like, okay, I've got to do well in my exams to get my degree. I've got to do well in this group project to do well in my degree. You know, it's everyone's kind of working towards like a common goal, and it's just figuring out how to work through that, because of course you do encounter challenges, and even within the team you have disagreements over how certain things should be done, and stuff like that. It's probably the most beneficial thing that you can get out of being part of for Sunride, for example. And it's something that I'd say I benefited from going into like a professional career. I kind of know what to look for in a way, you could say, but also know how to deal with certain things. And yeah, I think that's the main thing. Of course, there's a technical thing, the CAD design, the coding, blah blah blah, all of that stuff. But I think the main overarching thing, at least in my opinion, is that kind of working towards that common goal alongside other people. It's the main benefit.
That's true, and I think it's the first time you do so many things. Like within the team, most people have not yet had the chance to work in a large team with 40 grand budget, £40,000 budget. You know, they've not had the opportunity to build something to that high precision, that is that large and that valuable, to have essentially all the design decisions. It is just within our team, you know.
Yeah,
it's no to sort of figure out how to cross-check, how to figure out like what decisions are good, how do we go through the design process into the manufacturing process. And I think because none of us have ever done it before, and you're all sort of doing it together, both technical wise, like actual skills like fusion, like Dom said, or team working skills, and just learning how to do it. I think one of the ones that I found most interesting was simply just seeing a project from the beginning to the end, like actually getting to observe concept, design, manufacture, the circle that sort of goes design, manufacture, design, manufacture, then into testing, then watch some more designs change because your testing showed some other stuff, and actually watching the whole design process through, trying to keep it to timeline all the way to a point where you're at the launch site ready to launch. It's truly brilliant experience. I do think that the skills you get are very wide ranging.
And another thing I just thought, working under stress.
Yes.
Oh my word, launch days or test days. Whew, you've got to
lot about yourself as well, like how you react and interact in different situations. I think I've learned a lot about myself doing it.
Yeah, definitely, me too. And like I think I even the progress is, at least from me, I've noticed myself get a lot less and less stressed. Like even when, like in my first year, I was involved with experimental, then called Test Series, working on Carmen Mini, which was a tiny little rocket to test avionics stuff, and then Test Rocket 2, which was our 2-stage test rocket for Carmen Alpha. And the initial couple of launches for that, I was so stressed. But then as we did more and more, and even the recent engine test, of course I was stressed for that, but I'd kind of learned how to deal with it and kind of like just stick to what we like, to the plan basically. And if there is hiccups in that, just kind of think, okay, how do we sort this out? Rather than go, okay, we got to do this, you know, properly think, okay, how do we do this sensibly and without letting kind of the stress get on top of us? At least in my opinion, or my experience, I should say, is that's kind of what I've learned from this experience.